Hello, wonderful. So today we were studying the book of John on our virtual Zoom Bible study every Tuesday. Let me know and I'll send you the link if you want it. But just want to give a little overview of John 1. Meditation scriptures, John 1:1, John 1:14. Because it's very vital to understand those key scriptures and to know them by heart. Because it's the root of our salvation, really. You know, John 1:1 says, in the beginning, the Word already existed. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. Okay? So in the beginning, that's it. And in John 1:14, we see the Word became flesh and blood and moved into the neighborhood. We saw the glory with our own eyes. The one-of-a-kind glory, like Father, like Son, generous inside and out, true from start to finish. Okay? Then we talked about John, the trailblazer that he is, what a true disciple of Christ looks like. And let me just read verse 29. The very next day, John saw Jesus coming toward him and he yelled out, "Here he is, God's Passover lamb. He forgives the sins of the world. This is the man I've been talking about. The one who comes after me, but is really ahead of me." Then we went into, the first disciples, which, let me just read this because it's really, really cool. Starting in verse 35. The next day, John was back at his post with two disciples who were watching. There's always people watching. He looked up and he saw Jesus walking nearby and said, "Here he is, God's Passover lamb." The two disciples heard him and went after Jesus. Jesus looked over his shoulder and said to them, "What are you after?" They said, "Rabbi," which means teacher, "where are you staying?" He replied, "Come along and see for yourself." So they came. They saw where he was living and they ended up staying with him for the day. It was late afternoon when that happened. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of the two who heard John's witness and followed Jesus. The first thing he did after finding where Jesus lived was find his own brother, Simon, telling him, "We found the Messiah," that is Christ. He immediately led him to Jesus. Jesus took one look up and said, "You're John's son, Simon. From now on, your name is Cephas," or Peter, which means rock. How cool is that? Jesus speaking identity into them as soon as they came to him. Okay, so there's always people watching. And in this case, when they went and followed him, they addressed him as rabbi, automatically saying teacher. They were following him because they wanted to learn. They wanted to receive from him. Such a humble way of approaching the truth, right? Then we see as soon as one of those followers, Andrew, found out where Jesus was, the first thing he did was go get his brother. He went, he saw, and then he went and got his brother and brought him back. Okay? And it's so cool because as soon as Jesus looked up and seen Simon, he straight up told him who he was, gave him another name. He spoke identity into him. And it's just beautiful, y'all. It's just beautiful when you hear about Jesus, you want to know Jesus, you encounter Jesus, and then he speaks life into you. He speaks identity into you. So many of us have gone through so much in our lives that sometimes we're like, who am I? If I don't fit in here, who am I? And he just speaks so tenderly to us, and it's so good. And then we go into another disciple. It talks about how Jesus went to Galilee, and then he found somebody named Philip, and then he just told him, "Follow me," and Philip just followed him. But what did Philip do? Philip went to look for Nathanael and told him, "We have found the very person, the one that Moses and the prophets talked about. Come on. His name is Jesus, the son of Joseph from Nazareth." And Nathanael was like, "Nazareth? Can anything good come from Nazareth?" What did he say? What was his response? "Come see for yourself." Philip said, "Come see for yourself." How many of us have experienced Jesus and then we invite people we love and they're like, "What? You're like, "Just come see for yourself. Come see for yourself." And if you have a true open heart, and you come see for yourself, you're going to see and you're going to know. And it's just so good. It's so good to even see that reflection here in the beginning with the disciples. And then what does Jesus say to him? He looks up and he says, now here's a genuine son of Israel, a man of complete integrity. And Nathanael's like, what? Like, how do you know that about me? And Jesus said, I could see you under the fig tree before Philip found you. Then Nathanael exclaimed, Rabbi, you are the Son of God, the King of Israel. Okay, so Nathanael heard about him, but he didn't know him. Then he went to go see him. And when he seen him, Jesus automatically told him about himself. And he's like, how do you know me? And then him saying that he's seen him under a fig tree. Come on, somebody. And then Nathanael just knew it was Jesus, because God can tell us things that no one else knows. And he's just so good. But let me rewind a little bit. So in verse 10, he said, he came into the very world he created, but the world didn't recognize him, right? He came to his own people and even they rejected him. But to all who believed in him and accepted him, he gave the right to become children of God. They are reborn, not with the physical birth resulting from human passion or plan, but the birth that comes from God. In God, we become reborn. We start renewing our minds. Everything we learn, we have to relearn in the right way, letting go of the old way so that we can know God's heart. You spend time with somebody, you know their name. When you pick up the phone, not even the phone, if you're lost in the store and you hear them, you know their voice. God says that we know him by his voice. And that's how, when we spend time with him, getting his word, get to know his heart, we get to know him. We can stop a lot of confusion. Like, is this God or is this the enemy? No, we will know his voice. And we will make decisions with peace. And it's just good for us in our life. So again, these are the highlights from John 1. Meditate on John 1:1-1:14. Understand the rebirth. It's not from your mother's womb. It is from Jesus, the Spirit of God. And it is good. I know I just went a lot of places, but it's just so fun reading the Word and getting to understand the Word, and doing it with other people who have like minds and want to know God more. That's why this Bible study is virtual, so you are invited. It's on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Central Time. I hope you enjoyed this little glimpse of what we got out of chapter 1, and I look forward to jumping into chapter 2, because that is where we will learn and see the first miracle that ever happened. See you there. God bless you, wonderfuls.